Okay, so thank you to all of you for joining this today's roundtable discussion. I think we are wrapping up. I already introduced shortly David Bröschel, who had his experience with the Terran peak evolution, breaking the world record in Chile on 6,500 meters almost.
Yes, a bit more.
A bit more even. So let me ask you first, what was your impression about the talks and discussions we had this morning?
Yeah, thank you for having me. As you just mentioned, I just came back from Chile 2 weeks ago. We were there with our prototype vehicle. It's a multi-purpose transport vehicle with a gross weight up to 10 tons. And we set the world record for the highest point any electric vehicle has ever reached. And I'm today here with the vehicle. It's parked outside because our company is located only around 20 kilometers from here. So it would be cool if you're interested to have a look at it after, and if you want you can also do a test drive. And it was actually very interesting to be here. I was invited quite short notice, but I appreciate it a lot because it's very down the line of what we have been, what our strategy is, all the ideas of how electric mobility can be economically profitable for especially on-the-ground operations. And I like the discussions a lot. Some of the points by now are more or less common ground, like the cheaper fuel costs, like electricity versus diesel, maintenance, and so on. I also really appreciated Uwe's, he's not here, sorry, because he actually comes from the side of actual users, and in construction you have very variable conditions. And it's also what we noticed during our 4 or 5 months expedition in Chile. We tend to have these model calculations, and today still the real life differs a lot from what we find. Usually the electricity is a bit more expensive and the fuel is a bit more cheap, and you still have 2 or 3 technical difficulties, and what comes out at the end is someone still deciding for a combustion engined vehicle. And we're we're reaching the point where it goes slowly, shifts towards electric vehicles, but it's just really important, and maybe that's my main point, that we always have to take the worst possible case and the dumbest possible user and calculate it that way, because that is what it's going to be in real life, and that's what we try with our vehicle. Because if we calculate that we can do a 10-hour shift, in real life it will maybe be a 7 or 8-hour shift. So we have to build a vehicle that can do a 12 or 13-hour shift, And that's what we're trying to do, and I'm happy to hear more.
Thank you. I think that's also one of the key things in the Subspace Energy Hub that we try to do here when we transform the test location here. Really, that we want to do real-world tests and do the comparisons and build this up. And basically, you in your vehicle, you combine all the things. You produce your own energies. You have also the recuperation, but you have the solar, the PV, the green energy on it. You have the own nets. You have the battery and the storage. You consume. You need to load. So you have a lot of common things, very much compacted into your Terran.
Exactly.
That you show. So I'm very happy that you are here. But maybe we open up the round also to the audience to wrap up and discuss, also to understand, talking about economics, about benefits, what are the next steps we should take, we could take also jointly in the subspace, in the partnership relationships we have here. Who wants to break the ice? Uwe?
Yes. For me it was interesting because I saw some nice folders from, for example, Nomad, that I will check in future honestly more the following cost of the electric vehicle, which will be cheaper, and consider it because I'm working for more countries. So I say your combination in Norway would be fine. In Germany it would be a zero calculation.
Yeah, that's right.
A labor as a miner, if I have a machine which is less noisy, which is more comfortable, which has no heat, no fumes, etc., you can't tell me that I like to work there if I have a choice.
Just another example, other company, the shot grid unit, where it's a new type, with slowly start, no noise, slowly coming electrical wise up, the diesel engine super silenced, everything fine, and we have the older model, which is old. We got the first one, but the only problem was you have to push the start button and then it takes 10-15 seconds until you register it's going to work. This 10-15 seconds was already too last. They pushing, nothing happens. They said this one is not working, give me the old one.
Such things.
That's the problem we facing every time.
To buy the most modern, best driver environment, nice comfortable seats, no steering wheel, joystick, thrust lever, no, really comfortable. You can look at the cabins of back, and you have people operating it who are completely brainwashed. Sorry to say, I'm direct. They are able to destroy everything within the shortest amount of time.
Yeah, I've seen. I've also experienced.
Joysticks are horrible.
And it's for us the same, because I mean we have an actual vehicle that we can give to people, and one of our future markets will be also agriculture and municipal services in Switzerland. And it's exactly that point, like it takes 10 seconds to start up where nothing happens. And it sounds ridiculous, we have solved so many problems, but like this is like, if we want to put a product to the market, this is one of the most important issues that we need to solve. It's not like all these other things that are better, but that already stops when they start, and then, oh, this is shit.
Sorry guys,
and then
but I still don't get it. Also in the mines they were used to drive diesel machines. They were as stupid as coal miners. Don't tell me that the miners in the mines are smart and innovative. They are used to use diesel machines with exactly the same thing. Nevertheless, the mine operators, they say we go for that.
No, but even there is a difference. I was also working in mining. I had very big projects in northern Sweden, in Kiruna. And the difference is that people who are operating the machines there, they are permanently employed, they are permanently working on their machines, they regard their machines as their reputation. And there is a big difference, because having the people on the tunneling side, they change on a monthly basis sometimes, and nobody cares of the equipment.
Then I would say, if me as a supplier, I'm not talking to Norman, if I was the supplier of the machine, I'd say I bring the people, they know the machines. Because if you have people changing every month, they don't know the processes, they have poor quality, that's nothing but a hassle. Then I say to the contractor, I take care of that. I bring the driver. Overall, you can have. I split the benefit half to you if I get the job. That would be the logic thing.
This is one of the reasons why I said the future of all high-tech machinery is contracting models.
You should.
Because then people who operate the machines, they regard the machines psychologically as theirs.
Then it's a new. That is what I say. It's a new business model
for 70 euros per hour. You can.
That's rubbish. Forget about that.
Yeah, it's like this.
In Norway, the miners, they earn more. The drillers, they earn more than a civil engineer.
Yeah.
They earn more than a civil engineer, and there they have to do it. So this hourly rate thinking. Sorry, we are in a disrupt, and For me, it would be clear.
You're hinting on now this other model, right?
Yeah, but we have to get the
To
prices.
compensate
you-
the cost issue, right?
Yeah.
This upfront capex topic, right? So we're not thinking rental, building in service, building in operator costs, training, everything else, right?
Because
at a reasonable rate that the contractors can go.
Because what,
okay,
what I would like to add is that you're just talking of a small piece of the future construction site. I tell all of you, in future construction site will be software, and a little bit of manual work. So if we are not ready, and our people are not ready to make that transformation, even my engineers, if they are not ready to do that, other business model will make our engineers and our miners obsolete. For me, that's absolutely clear. Absolutely. No question. No question. The sooner you start as a contractor, sorry, or you are also a contractor, the sooner you start to work with your people in such a manner, or replace the people you have, the smarter you are in future on the construction side. For me, this is absolutely evident.
I mean, I can completely support that. We are ready to run machines completely without any driver. This is not a problem at all. Yeah. And especially in the tunnel where we have controlled environments. Yeah?
Who were talking of autonomous driving in mines, or who was it? The Golenko guy? Yeah. You were it. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, the first autonomous loaders we had in Kiruna in '99.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of you may remember. Yeah. There's no problem at all. So everything, all the added value will definitely move towards digitalization in data and software and stuff. Yeah.
That's for me.
And then we also get rid of this crazy driver mentality problem.
For me, that's crazy.
So you mean basically to drive this direction? Well, it will anyway happen. We all know. Yeah. But to accelerate this, regulations are not the key topic. Regulations can help. They can put some pressure. But basically, it's the change of mind. It's the attitude.
It's the change of mind. It's the attitude, and especially also regulations tend towards being made by some lobby, etc. And in the end, they are outdated. So regulations, in the end, tend to block innovation.
But they are always anyway. They are late.
Think about that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you now think about the new machinery regulation and stuff like that, this will be another nightmare.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of mindset. So obviously for the past 6-7 years we've been talking with customers, and quite a lot of them have started to adopt battery electric equipment. And when you start the discussion with them, generally the general discussion is, okay, how far can this machine move? And it's, that's a problem. And then you try to help them understand that we can put the infrastructure in, we can help them with that. The machine goes to the mine or the tunnel. After probably a month, you go back and you talk to them, and they're not talking about what the range is anymore. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about opportunity charging. That's all they talk about. In other words, every time the machine is stationary, they're charging it. So the guy has his coffee break, he's charging. The guy's filling up the agitator on the surface, it's charging. And they start to understand that once their mind starts to change, they're looking at all the angles of how to get the best performance out of the machines. And this whole range thing is a thing of the past. So absolutely, I've seen it myself firsthand, that once people start to use the equipment, their mindset starts to change, and they start to become very, very clever in overcoming any obstacle that's in their path. Because going back to the same kind of conversation as earlier, once they realize that, okay, I can now charge the face, I don't have to breathe diesel, I don't have to be in the heat, I don't have to have the vibration, I don't have to have the noise. So I think that's actually, in a lot of cases, where we have sort of seen things change, is that, like we said earlier, once they try one machine, it starts that cascading effect where people start to go, wow, it wasn't that hard. The job we do 12 hours a day is so much nicer. I don't need to shout at the guy beside me anymore. Those kind of things make a huge difference if you're doing it 6 or 7 days a week on a roster. And that's the reality of what we're seeing, is that once those first adopters come out and give it a go, they generally like it. And also I see, particularly with the big mining houses, they realize that they have to start, because they all have these sustainability goals, and they don't just happen by accident. They have to start. And luckily, again, like I mentioned earlier, the utility stuff that we work with is relatively easy to adapt into any sort of environment. It doesn't require a huge amount of infrastructure, doesn't require a lot of, let's say, additional energy. They're fairly energy efficient. So what we're seeing is a lot of customers choosing something like a sprayer or a transmixer or an explosive charging machine to actually learn and understand how these things work. And then they start to move into the bigger equipment, the loaders and the trucks, which are of course, necessary thing. And also it's great to see that those guys have also solved the problem. But the energy requirements there is far, far larger.
Let me say first something about mindset and then about infrastructure. So mindset, what I lived through is you get the go from senior management. Oh, they like it. They like it. They want to have to change. 30% reduction, 70% reduction, all green. And then you go to operation and talk about green vehicles, and they are completely opposing it. They have enough shit to do with their vehicles and keep them running, and you bring new vehicles with different technology and nobody knows how to run them. So at least in open pit mines you got the opposition from the people on the ground or from senior management. And about infrastructure, or you have a point on that? Infrastructure, you were asking what do we need to change? The problem is with all the electrification, it's not just one change, it's a whole wave of changes. I mean, it's we want to electrify, and then we want to have volatile energy because we want to have solar power and all this mixed in. So basically in a mine, it's not just about plugging in the vehicle to the mains. You have completely different needs. First of all, you have fluctuant energy that comes in. Then you have high power that you're drawing out of the grid. I told you before, I can serve 6 megawatt, but all the mines I'm talking to, they can deliver 3 megawatt from their mid-voltage grid and not 6 megawatt as it's needed. And how do you build this whole new infrastructure in the mine? Is it going to be a mid-voltage grid as it is nowadays, or is it going to be a DC grid with a lot of batteries in parallel? I mean, we can easily discuss that, but that's extremely costly to do this new infrastructure. Whenever it's in place, that's great. Then you can bring all these electric vehicles, but changing the whole mine, that's a big task.
Yeah, because I mean, just take the example of such a train up there. If you have such a train at 5 cars, no, just an example, and you want to charge them by the maximum power, you need to install 5 times 150 kilowatt.
The thing, I mean, what you just have been saying is a perfect path for subspace energy. Huh? Why do we have sorry for this promotion insert here. Why do we have subspace energy hub? It's exactly about combination of different aspects in a let's say close to construction and mining environment as possible. That you can try out, that you can optimize, that you can see what components are necessary, that you can test them, that you can tailor-make them, that you can link them together, that when you start to develop a construction site, that I need this technology that fits to that. We have been running a test site, it was well, so when you bring all this equipment onto the site, you have the highest possible degree of confidence that what you install ultimately will serve the necessities of the site. So you do not probe around on the site, you have an expertise. This is the basic concept of subspace energy hub. That's one thing. And the other thing I would like to come back to the mindset, because at the very initial phase of subspace energy hub, we said, let's install a test and trial run underground to show miners, drivers, how does a electric vehicle work. You get with a specific predefined course where you can check how much energy did I need, because you have to drive in a different manner. My question to you, and also from the contractor side, what do you think? Would you send your let's say unexperienced opposing miners to such a site that they know to learn in a closed environment? What does it mean to run an electric vehicle? Would you do that, or would you not do that?
I personally could do that, but it wouldn't help, because the major problem between mine and tunneling is, and with the people, I would wondering if a mine working like a tunneling, we have, for example, 2 years a job, 400 people, and then we have 1 year nothing. So if the mine would have to work like us, 2 years job, 1 year nothing, just paying the people without earning, then 1 year job again, 1 year not earning, only paying the people, I'm sure they will deal with their people different.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the reason why we don't have the... In earlier times, when I was 25 years ago, when I was starting working, we had at Dividag at that time, we had a very small part of people permanently employed, but it was a small one. That was perfect. The wheel loader drivers, they were driving without their safety boots. The wheel loader, after shift, they were cleaning the windows, they were wiping out the cabin. Perfect.
Yeah, but then it's great. Then you answered my question, because then it doesn't make sense. I'm still with subspace energy. Yeah. Then we don't offer you, the contractors, this opportunity. Then we talk to Normet, we talk to VirtuRail, starts to come up with another business model. You not only provide the machinery, you also provide the drivers, which come on. Yeah, but one listen to him.
The mentality of tunneling, I think it's best expressed. You know the inventor of the tunnel boring machine called Richard J. Robbins, Dick Robbins. Yeah, he told me one time, literally, I'm citing, it must be possible to take an operator right from the street for a tunnel boring machine. Yeah, this expresses perfectly the situation in tunneling. There is somebody, he looks like he would be able to operate a tunnel boring machine, do it. Yeah, and the same mentality with all the equipment there. Yeah, and as more advanced our equipment gets, as more critical gets it with this one, because earlier it was like, okay, you could take an operator right there. He needed some two hours training, and he was able to operate the wheel loader and stuff like that. But as more advanced the equipment gets, as more skilled operators we need. Yeah. There's a direct, even if we have assistant systems like HEL, etc., because in manually operated equipment, it also applies to agriculture for a harvester or something like that. I take this example. Yeah, when you harvest a grain field, okay, clicking up the cutting board a little bit here and there, and it does not matter whether you have it a little bit too high for 20 meters, yeah, then you lower it again. But if you put your automatic settings in the nice display too high, then you will cut the entire field like this, and afterwards there is a problem. Yeah. Yep. So the single decision of the operator gets much more impact on the overall work. He does not do a high number of decisions. He does only a low number of decisions, but every single decision he makes has a much higher impact on the work result.
But still, the MSV is a little bit special. If I go back to the wheel loader or the transport unit or something like this, for me, even with the people we have, it doesn't matter if it's electric driven or diesel driven. They use it as the same. It would be, for me, really the main purpose is, at the end, if I do the offer, where's my price for the offer? And also with the bosses. I have bosses, they are not rejecting. They say, is it cheaper? Buy it.
Yeah.
So as soon as I can tell them
it's cheaper,
the electric vehicle is for us cheaper than the diesel,
I think
We are
this-
buying
this-
the electric vehicle.
From a simplistic point of view, because that's what I'm good at from coming from Wales, right? But for me, you know, it's like what Tom says, you know, we need the clients, we need the legislation, right? Like the Norway, right? That will come, right? We don't know. I don't think any of us really know when it will come.
But it'll come.
But it will come, 2030, let's say, right?
Yeah, but the thing,
But let me
Yeah,
I think the conundrum we have, the problem we have now, from the examples we've seen today, is that there is definite benefits, right? There is money benefits, right? But I think we need to work a little bit harder in those. I think the hard points, as using Uwe's words, the hard points are clearer, but there's all these other soft points which we haven't been able to attach any monetary value to. Because if Uwe said, well, God, this is fantastic, all these soft points actually are so beneficial, I would propose this to my organization.
but there's another
So I think between now and legislation time, we've got something to do.
I'm with you, Ross, is because everybody's talked about economic benefits today, right? And it's a compelling event, which is what drives innovation forward and drives adoption forward. So you're looking at a compelling event being legislation or like a war or something, right? Like that drives forward adoption of things. So it's the same reason that we've got speed limits, right? Like why do we have speed limits? Because some idiot drives too fast and crashes. So it's kind of like you're penalising everybody that can drive at the speed limit by having a speed limit because of the outlier cases. So it's the same thing with the legislation. I think everybody's talked about like there's different business models you can adopt. There's clear benefits to the cost of doing the business. Like we've seen all that. We already know this. We're not the ones you need to convince, right? But until there's a compelling event, which in our case might be legislation, I don't think that you're going to hit that mass market because you know when you go through that adoption curve, the people at that end of the adoption curve, the early adopters and the early majority, they put up with a lot more than the mass market does. So until the mass market is kind of forced, we're not going to have the people spending on the infrastructure to charge the vehicles like they need to, and you'll never get the benefits of it. Like as much as you try to convince people, there's going to be a certain thing that needs to force people into it. It is just my view of it, and I kind of think like what Tom's saying, as soon as the cost of carbon comes in, it might not actually be specific legislation that says,
value, isn't it?
yeah, you might not need to comply by 2030, say, but there's already stuff coming in now with like battery passports, right? So there's no such thing as a battery passport at the moment, but the EU's telling us there's going to be a battery passport, and it will be between this year, 2027, and 2032, right? So somewhere between there, you're going to have to comply. They haven't told us when. So I think, and I kind of alluded to it, is unless you're ahead of the curve, they already told you it's coming, and they've given you like a 5-year window. So you need to start thinking about it before the 5-year window, because at some point there'll be a cut, and you'll be in trouble if you haven't actually gone through that investigation. You know how to come over it and how to put infrastructure in place, and maybe look at different business models. You need to be thinking ahead of that curve, right? Like it's.
And it might be, as you said, Felix, that we need to be more creative, right? We need to be a bit more innovative, not on technology, but on commercial
I was going to
models.
say, because the future will not be as it has. What was it that David was saying? You get if you did what you have been doing, you get what you have got. So and the future will not be like that. Either we are pushed into it, we are forced into it by law at a certain moment, and if we miss that moment, then we are out of the game. Or we prepare. Because there's another important factor. We have less and less people willing to work in mines and in construction sites. I mean, we are all in the Western world, we are in an aging society, so there are fewer and fewer young people willing to do that job, to work with CO2, diesel, whatever type. They say, come on, not with me. So autonomous driving, robotized, digitalization, that is a trend. Just because you don't find drivers, even if they still were willing to drive diesel engines, you simply don't find them anymore.
You've got fewer people willing to do it, but demand for those products that they produce is
exactly. So the thing is, what is the reaction of the industry? I go for autonomous, robotized driving, and tunnels and mines are perfect because you only have professionals there. You have no, let's say, it's not like on the highway where you have crazy people on bikes and everything.
No kids, not like here, right?
So you only have professionals, and you are in a confined space per definition. So it's evident that sooner or later the question of the driver will to a certain extent evaporate, because there are no drivers anymore who could oppose.
I fully agree with you, but we need to put standards in place, and we need to create best practices to enable this future. Because right now, if you want to go autonomous driving, as we had the discussion about Sandvik before. Sandvik, they're gone electric for some time. Because there were no super fast charging infrastructure there, they made their battery swapping super proprietary. But if you are an operator of a mine, you want to have you don't want to just buy from Sandvik and have their proprietary stuff. You want to buy from Boliden or from you. So you need to create an infrastructure that is compliant even with one connector, and that's a big advantage if you go back to gasoline. It's always the same thing. The interface is clear. You go to electric, and suddenly you have 10 different interfaces at different voltage levels with different infrastructure needs. And then we are in full chaos. So what we need to create is a best practice and say, okay, that's how you should do it, and that works for tunneling, mining, and open pit mining.
Okay, my guys, come on, we are engineers. I
solved it for my.
That could be the problem. I started to work and saw the introduction of facsimile messages. The first time I was working in an office, they still had the telex, you know, Nowadays I have passed at least 4 or 5 generations of laptops, and each of them had a different plug, a different socket, they came, I don't know what. And I always carry around a lot of interfaces, hardware interfaces.
Big change.
Don't tell me that this is hindering our progress.
No, the operators need to define what should be the standard of the future.
Are you asked what type of interface you want to have with your laptop?
No. I'm not
No, I think you need to distinguish. This, what you say is right, but when you use these things in public infrastructure. Yeah? But if you use, by example, battery electric vehicles in a mine or in a tunneling environment or something like that, and you say, okay, this is a type 2 connector, and I can either do AC or DC charging, then the things are done. Yeah, and these are the same connectors as outside in the real world. Yeah. This honestly I don't see as a problem. Yeah, of course there are limits in terms of the available power on these plugs. Yes, yeah, but okay, but they are within envelopes which we still are able to cover with today. Yeah,
that is why.
So this is I do not see this as a big problem. I mean we have type 2 sockets here in Kerenzer which do only AC charging. We use the same sockets in Austria which do DC charging, and this works. Yeah, this is simply plug and play. Yeah, but you are right when it comes to public installations.
Yeah, but we are talking about mining and underground construction industry here. We are not talking of house building. We are not even discussing outside the construction industry. We are even discussing within a niche of the construction industry. And that, I say, sorry, that is not public. I just say from the smartness of engineers, we should be capable to create such interfaces. That can't be the stumble stone which prevents us from using electrically driven propelled machines. That can't be. But what has happened then to the contractors? Why are now they? Because we saw that there is economic benefit in it. So what makes the contractor stop not to be that there are suppliers ready to? What has happened to the contractors if they are not receptive, according to like they were in the 1780s? What has happened to them? Why do they not welcome such a technology, which obviously gives them financial, economic benefit, and a lot of benefit also to their people, being them permanently or temporary, because they can work in a much better environment? What has happened to the contractor that they obviously don't?
Because at the moment there is not much commercial benefit.
Yeah, and the time of the return of investment, so to say. Yeah, everybody is just looking on short-term profit. Yeah, exactly. Next quarterly result and thick pockets. Yeah, and this is not working with it, because here you need a little bit of sustainable approach in order to get to the profit.
It's the way of calculation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe we can also call it as it's a currency problem also, like because we have different currencies. You just said it. Look, we have a lot of soft issues there. We have the price, benefits from the price, right? But you don't see it, or not yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have all these other topics, and you just said like, well, there are benefits around, but apparently we don't have the right currencies, or like we cannot count it properly, that it can be sort of factored in a tender or anything. So that's maybe one of the things, like the currency issue.
The e-bike market doesn't have a procurement officer and a CFO and a lawyer and a lawyer and a lawyer. Everybody's paying lip service to it and doing a project here and a project there and this and that. But until somebody says that's on your report, you need to account for it, and then this is how much it's going to cost you if you don't comply, then they'll just keep paying lip service to it. So there needs to be, I agree with you completely, ESG needs to be important consideration, but until it's a financial burden, it's not going to drive adoption.
That's what I meant with the currency there.
Or to your point though, it's like until there's a financial penalty for the people running those companies, then it's not a thing. It's like there was a famous case where rock paintings got blown up in Australia, right? And the guy got fired, there was a massive fine, and now everybody's worried about like disturbing native sites. So that's become a big thing, but that's because there was a compelling event that drove it. So I kind of think that it's the same with this. It's like everybody will adopt to a certain point until they're made to.
Maybe one other thing that might push everybody over the edge is that we remember in the 90s the big tobacco thing where there was huge court cases and big payouts from these tobacco companies, that they knew that they were harmful, and there was a big lawsuit. Today we know that DPM is a carcinogenic. So I'm just wondering when the day will come that employers will be made accountable for that. So there's many different drivers. I don't know which one it will be, but it'll be something like that that'll just tip it over the edge, and then everybody will have to comply.